Okay, this is the third video in the LearnSpeed setup series. We've already covered the admin tab. We reviewed setting up the edit customization features under your center group. We also talked about the session setup in the second video. We took a look at setting up subjects, attendance, and session types. We did not set up ratings in the second video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at adding people to the system. Now if you have a large existing population of students and clients, parents, and you want us to import that information, we can do that for you. Contact us at help@learnspeed.com. But this video we're going to talk about adding individual people. We're going to start with administrators. So go to the People's tab, Administrator sub-tab, and we're going to click on Add an Administrator. Alright, so when we add an administrator, fields are pretty straightforward. One thing to note is that when we put in an email address, let's say that this is billsmith@yahoo.com, it will tell you if this email address is available. If it says that this is unavailable, that means that there is already a LearnSpeed account that's associated with this email address. If that's the case, there will be another button that appears that says Invite. That will allow you to invite this person to become a member of this center, in this case an administrator. The second thing that I want you to understand is the address system. On the left-hand side we have these gray addresses. On the right-hand system we have this white area. The white area is controlled by the center. The gray area is controlled by the user. The user controls their account information through the My Account button in a link in the upper right-hand corner here. Now this is not as big a deal for administrators because they have the right to come in and change the information here when they log into the system anyways. This becomes more important when we're talking about parents and students. They can update their information, but it will never overwrite your own information. Administrators will have an opportunity, they'll be notified when somebody updates their information and therefore their information does not match what you have in the system, and you'll have a choice to overwrite the current center information by clicking this link or typing it in yourself. This keeps the integrity of your information but allows the users, your parents, to update their own accounts, creating some efficiency there. The other thing I'll mention too at the email, why do we have this system for inviting if the email already exists? If you had more than one LearnSpeed account, LearnSpeed Center, different locations, but you had one administrator that belonged to one of those already, you would not want to have them to create a new account and log in with a different username and password. By inviting them with the same email address, that will allow the person to use this upper left-hand corner switch between the different centers that you set up. Alright, cancel out of that. Last thing I want you to notice is that when we've created an account here, we have this activated column here, and there's no check box on that activated. That's because this person has not set up their account yet. If that's the case, then we would use this invite link here. So just to clarify, when we looked at the original entry, if there was an account already set up with LearnSpeed that belonged to a different center, it'll say that that email address is already taken and there'll be an invite button here. If it says that the email is available, you'll enter all the information, and after you save it, it will show you the record. You can look up the record here, and then you would send them an invite to setting up the rest of their account by clicking on this invite button. Alright, hope that makes sense. Next we'll take a look at adding an instructor. Only a couple differences with instructors. The same things apply with administrators regarding the user managed addresses and the center managed address, and the same thing applies with the email and whether the email address is available, or if it's unavailable, inviting them to this center. The difference is block student information. This allows you to give access to the instructor to your students without giving them access to phone numbers and addresses. If you uncheck that, they will be able to see phone number and address, contact information. And then we have can manage schedules. If you want to allow them to add students to their schedules, then you would want that checked. Uncheck that to only allow administrators to manage their schedule. Auto available would be if the instructor is available, let's say at a consistent time, 9 to 5 on Mondays through Fridays, you would choose that. That's what this auto availability is. It's setting things from Monday through Friday. Of course, you can set their availability by hand on their calendar. This is just a fast way of doing it that makes it so you don't have to set that availability by hand. Most instructors are not going to have solid hours Monday through Friday for most centers, and we'll leave that unchecked. Work Saturday, Sunday, pretty straightforward. Time zone. And limit student. Now, limit student is kind of related to block student information. Again, block student information does not allow the instructor to see the contact information for the student or client. Limit students means that this instructor will only have access to students that are currently scheduled with them or have future scheduled sessions with them. If the student no longer is scheduled with this particular instructor, that is, they only have past historical sessions on their calendar, they will no longer have access to that student's information. They won't be able to look them up. This is a great way to maintain the integrity of your system and prevent instructors from just having free access to all your student information. Okay, so I think we've covered the instructor, adding an instructor pretty well. The next thing we're going to talk about is adding a parent and student. So we go to the parent. We also call this parent billing. Sometimes you can call it, it's called client. We'll talk about custom labeling, where you can change the names of instructors or parents or clients as they're called also. But right now what we're going to do is talk about how to add a parent. When I add the parent, the same things apply as far as the email address. That is, the parent might have worked with a different center that you have already set up, so you can invite them to this center as well. And the same thing applies to the left side, user managed data, and the right side, data that's managed by the center. Once again, the parent, when they log into the system, they'll have the ability to edit their contact information through the My Account link at the upper right hand corner. Once again, that only changes this side. It will not change the center's data and information. The administrators will have a chance to update that information once they're notified that the parent has updated. All right, two more things. When we put in an email address, the first email address that we put in will be the email that communication logs and session logs are sent to for every student in this account. But we can also put alternate session email addresses. This would be if we had another parent in the family or a grandparent that wanted to receive all of the session logs for all students underneath this parent's account. We'll talk about alternate session email addresses also at the students file. It's also a important distinction. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so I think that's adding the parents pretty straightforward here. Let me go ahead and cancel that. All right, so now once we've added the parents, we can either select the parent by clicking on the row that we're looking at, and we can see the students underneath that account. Another way of selecting the account is by clicking on the client's name, the parent's name here, and now we see their information at the top here, and then below we have the student's information, and of course we can click on those students to go to the student's account. If we needed to add a new student, we would just click on Add Student. When we look at the student's account, there's a few differences. We have our graduation year that you can plug in, and we have some note fields. And then this was the alternate session email address I was referring to. When we put an email address in here, all session logs for this particular student will be sent to this email address as well. Now, why would you use an alternate session email address? This is great if you have like a resource specialist for the student, maybe a particular mentor or a teacher that's very involved with the student, maybe a counselor at school. In my judgment, you want to include as many emails as possible for these students for several reasons. One, if the person cares about the student and is involved in their life, then the information might be helpful. It might be benefit to the student to have more people understand what's happening as the student gets support from your center. But the other thing to keep in mind as well is that when you send these session logs out, they will be branded with your company's information, your logo, contact information, maybe programs that are upcoming. All of that information can be appended to the bottom of the session log. It's a great way to brand your company, and these session logs have a near 100% open rate. So it's a great way to communicate the value that your center has to offer and make sure that it's getting out to people that have the potential to refer your services to other students and parents. Okay, so that's adding a student from this place. One more way we can add students is by going to the People tab and going directly to Students. And after we have already added a client, there's a client in the system. Let's say that the Adamson family has another student. You can just add a student here and then just click and find that parent. And now we have that parent, or again, that's another name for client. We have that account here, and we can put that student in, and they will be associated as well. So several ways that you can create those associations. The last thing I'm going to show you is the quick add, which is on the home page. This is a good way to associate a parent and student account. While you're talking to the parent on the phone, you can use this, quickly add the parent's basic information, the student's information, take some notes, signify whether they're a prospect. If they're a prospect, you can use a report to find out in the future what prospects have not signed up for services so that you can market to them and use your billing or your parent billing admin notes to specify what kind of things they might be interested in. If they go ahead and move forward with an intake, you would not use this prospect, gather their information, and once you've inputted this information, you can search for their account in the account search window. Okay, so that is, as a review, how we set up people in the system: administrators, instructors, students, and the parents. The last thing that we will talk about on this tab is student groups. I'm just going to give a very cursory introduction to student groups. Ultimately, student groups allows you to create a group that you can attach multiple students for, so that you can take attendance and create session logs much more efficiently for the group than if you had to create the session logs one at a time. So make sure to, if you're interested in student groups, make sure to watch the video on setting up student groups. All right, that's it for us on adding students to the system. The next video that we're going to create or that you're going to view is the set availability and set tags. This is setting the instructor's availability on their calendar and using tags for setting up the search process. You'll learn more about that in the next video.